guys, it's Tahira, and today I'm starting a new reading vlog where I'm reading some of my old middle school and high school favorites and seeing kind of how they hold up now. So some of these books I literally haven't read since I first read them back in high school / middle school. So I'm excited to see what I think of these books now, because I know that my reading taste has changed a lot since then. I mean, I hope it would have at least evolved at least a little bit since then. But yeah, I'm just gonna be reading 3 books in this reading vlog. Those books are Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, which of course was a massively popular YA fantasy novel. This one I actually got for my 13th birthday, which I probably was around 7th grade back then. So right in middle school I read this book. And then another book I read around the same time when I was getting into booktube and everything was The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. This book is another YA fantasy novel that was also pretty popular back in the day. Not as big as Red Queen, but still pretty popular, and I ended up really enjoying it as well. So I will be picking this up again to see how it kind of holds up to today's YA / popular fantasy novels. And then the last book I'm thinking of reading is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This one I definitely remember more of than the other two. This one I think I read a little bit later in high school. And also Stephanie Garber has a new series that's come out, the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I don't know what it's called, but that one's been super popular and I've heard a lot of really great things. And I've heard that they're connected, so I thought it would be a good time to reread this book before I dive into that trilogy. But yeah, I am excited to see. I've already basically started I'm on page 2 of Red Queen last night at 2 in the morning. But today I will be going through and reading more of this book, and I will let you know what I think of it as I'm reading it.
I'm different, yeah, I'm different. I'm different, yeah, I'm different.
So, I finished Red Queen. Definitely not as good as the first time that I read it. The first time that I read it, I literally gave it 5 stars because 13-year-old me was a very easy rater. I literally gave everything 5 stars, and if I didn't like it, I'd give it a 4 or at most a 3. So I really didn't like rating books low, but this time I went back and changed my Goodreads rating to a 3 to 3.5. So not too bad, but definitely not as good as I remember. So if you have been living under a rock and somehow don't know what Red Queen is about, this book is about this girl named Mare, and she lives in a world where there's people with red blood and people with silver blood. People with red blood are the peasants, the lower people, the oppressed people, and then people with silver blood are the elites, the royal, the nobles, everything like that. Of course, our main character is a mare, and then a red. Her name is Mare Barrow, which reminds me of a farm, wheelbarrow, horse, mare, I don't know. But she of course has red blood, and then she by circumstance is taken to the kingdom castle, something, whatever, and there she figures out that she actually has powers that so basically the silver people have powers and she has powers too, but she still has red blood, so she's something else. She's different, she's special. And then we have 2 brothers, Cal, who's the prince, and Mare, who's also prince. And of course, this being YA, she somehow finds a way to be interested in both of them, and both of them supposedly being interested in her. Now that I think about it, it's kind of crazy that she's this 2-timing girl that's going after both of these brothers. But yeah, honestly, this was bland. Nothing really to say. I mean, it is a fast-paced book. It is pretty entertaining and interesting, and the plot is interesting, but it's just not a lot happens. It's very bland. The characters are boring, and I will say the twist is a lot of the twists are pretty predictable, but also executed in a well way. I don't know how to say it. They're predictable, but they're still shocking. I don't know, maybe I'm just being dumb. One thing I was always noticing is that the characters in this book, or not the characters, the writing in this book is very melodramatic. You know, when chapters end, they end on a cliffhanger, and then in my mind, every time a chapter ended, it would be a dun 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 sound effect that happens in when you're telling a story and you want something to be like pseudo dramatic, you're like dun dun dun. So that's kind of what was in my mind happening after every chapter, because it would always be like, but this was this, and he was Cal, and blah blah blah. It was like very dramatic. And then the romance was non-existent. Like nothing happened between the characters, but then suddenly they like liked each other and loved each other apparently. I don't even, like, literally Mare and Cal did not interact, like maybe interacted like 2 times, and then suddenly they're like, he's gonna choose you, he cares about you, and then they have like, they share a kiss, and then apparently they love each other now. I don't really know, it's like really weird. And then clearly there's feelings between her like hometown boy Killern and Mare, between Killern and Mare, but they don't do anything about it, and they literally just like, they know they have feelings for each other, but like they don't do anything about it, and they don't talk about it. I don't know, it's really weird. So yeah, I don't really know, not much to say. I wasn't like as terrible as I was thinking it was gonna be. This is actually apparently my 3rd time reading it, and this is the one where I'm finally bumping my rating down to a 3.5, so like not too bad. I still enjoyed it. I feel like it's still interesting enough for me to pick up the sequel to see like what happens. I like did not remember also anything that happened in this book, so even though like the twist was kind of shocking to me, it also wasn't, because like I feel like things were coming back to me as I was reading it. I don't know. But yeah, this was the first book of this vlog, so I clearly had very different taste, because this is very much like 2015 YA, and it reminds me of like a lot of books that have come out since then. This was truly the blueprint when it came to YA back then, but now it's like excuse me while I was dying. Now it's just like so yeah. Next time will be the 2nd book, which I don't know what I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read after my next book, which I'm reading for another vlog. So yeah, I'll see you then.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
So I've started Kiss of Deception, and now I'm on page 262, so I'm about like halfway, a little bit more than halfway through the book already. Honestly, this book is like way slower than I thought it would be. It's like honestly, it's like I'm reading it for the first time, because I literally forgot everything about this book since I first read it, because it's been so long. But it's basically, the story is about this girl named Leah, and she's a princess, and she's being married off to like this random prince from another kingdom, but she doesn't want that, so she runs away with her like friend who's like her maid, I guess, or not her maid, but like someone who took care of her while she was like in the castle and everything, who ran away with her as well. And they go to this town, and they're working at this inn there, and then these 2 men come. One is the prince who was supposed to marry her, and one is an assassin that is sent to kill her, and they both kind of are there and scouting out where she is and what she's doing. Like I said, this is honestly really slow, and way slower than I thought it would be. We're like halfway through, but nothing has happened except like obviously the main part of the story, which is like her running away, but that literally happened in like the 1st chapter. And then she's like, now for the past like 200 pages, she's just been like working at this inn, kind of going through her new life as someone who is just a normal civilian and not a lost princess. So that's literally all that's happened. And honestly, it's like really irritating me that the people that are out to get her are like supposed to be killing her, but they fell in, like, it's too insta-lovey for me. Like the guy who is supposed to kill her and is sent to kill her literally is like hesitating, because he's like, oh, but I don't want to, because we have a connection. And suddenly I feel like they haven't even talked, but they have like a connection already. I don't know, the romance is again not developed about well at all, and there is like no progression, no interaction before they're like professing that they really like the other person. I don't know, I'm just really confused by these YA books and why there's like no discussions before someone's like professing their love for the other person. But yeah, I'm probably gonna update next when I finish it. I'm hoping to finish it probably in the next day or two, hopefully tonight if I can. The pages are like pretty, it's like a short book, so the pages are small, but also the text is pretty big, so I'm reading this really quickly. So hopefully I'll be finishing it soon. But yeah, so far it's just that nothing is happening at all, and it's definitely not as good as when I first read it. Like literally my review here says that I give 5 stars and I said this is really good or something like that. So I really liked this when it came out, but now I'm just definitely not loving it as much. Which goes to show that I guess you should be rereading, or I don't know, should you? This could either be that I should be rereading books and to see like if they're even good, or I should not and preserve the magic that I felt when I first read them. So I don't know what the moral of the story is. I'm definitely not loving it as much as this review right here, so we'll see how this ends. I'm hoping that it starts picking up soon. I'm hoping there's some like plot twists, some reveals, some betrayals. I'm just hoping for something at this point. So it's been a few days since my last update. I finished The Kiss of Deception. I finished it actually a few days ago, but it's been a couple of days since I've been moving into my college apartment. So it's taken a little bit of settling in, but I did finish Kiss of Deception right before my like a few hours before my flight. Actually, I finished at like midnight or 1 a.m. and had a flight at 6 a.m. I ended up giving this a 2 stars, so definitely not as good as the first time. I feel like I'm so sad because all these books that I used to like love back in the day, I'm giving like 2 or 3 stars now. So I'm really hoping the next book, Caraval, gives me a 5 star or like a high 4 or something, at least something that's good. But I just did not like this book at all, honestly. To be honest, there's no world building at all. There's like very strange magic system which I don't understand, and the characters are also really bad. I also did not like the romance at all. The love triangle just did not compete for me at all. It just didn't make sense. And also like there was no development within the romance either. So that for me, I need some romance. I feel like they had no interactions before everyone was saying that they liked someone. I feel like I need a little bit more interactions between the characters before they started like declaring their feelings for each other. And they had such strong feelings, like I'll do anything to save her, blah 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 blah, but I'm like, you've literally never talked to her in your life, or you barely talked to her. So I'm like very confused about that. The magic and the world building is terrible. We're kind of introduced to like the 2 kingdoms that are like, that Leah is the princess, so she's marrying into another kingdom, but we did not find out anything else. I feel like I'm missing a lot of pieces about the world, about the power that Leah supposedly has slash doesn't have slash thinks she has. I don't know, it's very confusing. I guess it was supposed to be a plot twist that the prince was, or who the prince and the assassin were, but for me I feel like it was very obvious from the get-go who was who, so I didn't really like, that wasn't really a shock. And then the assassin was literally the worst assassin in the world. Like he was set out to kill this girl, but he was like, the first time he saw her, he was like, oh, I can't kill her now, like she's too pretty. I don't know, it was really weird. Like literally he had one job and he didn't do his job, and I'm like, you are a terrible assassin. And like the romance between all these characters just did not make sense to me. I had no, like, it just wasn't believable for me at all. The world building was like non-existent. I was very confused. It was very boring. Like nothing happened. She escaped. I don't know how. She escaped at the first chapter, basically. Like the whole, like half the synopsis and basically almost all the synopsis about how she like escapes. But basically that happens in like the first chapter, and we're not really told anything about it, and I don't really, that's not believable either, because she just escapes and then she just has to like, she's running away for like 10 days, but then no one catches her. Like this one girl who's been sheltered all her life in this castle with like assumably no escapism skills decides to run away with her like servant or whatever, who like willingly is going after her and risking her entire life. And then you're telling me the castle, like the king's best trackers and guards and people, can't find this princess? Like I feel like that's just very unbelievable. Anyway, I was hoping that I would like it, but just as the story was going on, nothing was happening. There was like a majority of the book is her just in her like new town, just like figuring out new town life as someone who's not a princess, is just like a common girl. And then she meets these like 2, the prince and the assassin, and kind of just their dynamic and just different things that happen within this town, festivals, celebrations. There was no tension at all. Like nothing was telling me that there was any tension, because supposedly there should have been tension with the assassin, but the assassin wasn't like a good assassin, so he was just like kept I don't know where the good lighting is, but he kept like delaying the task because he's like, oh, I don't want to do it yet, I'll just do it after this. Oh, then after that came, he was like, okay, I'll just do it after this. And then he just kept delaying it, so there was no tension of him like killing her at any point or assassinating her. And then the only tension, I guess, was towards the end when the plot a little bit picked up and everything. I think she's like taken hostage or something with the prince, and that's like the only tension thing, and I wasn't even feeling any tension with that. So yeah, honestly, this book is like kind of bad. Maybe I might have to put it down to 1 star to 2 stars. It was just, maybe it's one of my worst reads of the year, I don't know, but just extremely disappointing, and honestly a bad fantasy novel. Hello, so it is like a week or 2 after I've actually finished this book, but I have officially finished Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This book was honestly like so good, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. My original rating from like when I first read it back in high school was a 5-star on Goodreads, so I knew that this wasn't going to be a full 5-star, but I ended up giving it 4 stars, which is a pretty good rating, honestly. Like, I had a lot of fun reading this book, and I thought the atmosphere was actually very magical, and the story was also pretty compelling. I don't know, I just had fun reading it. The only reason I docked a star was because of the romance plot, which was kind of lackluster in my opinion. There wasn't a lot of romance, and I feel like the romance that was kind of building between the main character and Julian. By the way, if you don't know what this book is about these 2 girls, Tella and Scarlett. They're sisters. They're living on this island, and they've kind of been living in abuse from their father, who's like the count, what is it, count, I guess? No, not count, like something, governor, I don't know, something of the island. Like, he's kind of lording over the island, and he's kind of lording over their life too, and he abuses them and stuff, so they always dream of getting off the island. And then Scarlett has been sending letters to Legend, who is the headmaster of this like magical game carnival, like magical place called Carnival, which is like this place where people go and there's like elaborate performances and there's like a game involved. It's like this whole magical like event that happens every year. So she's been writing letters to him to try to get her and her sister a ticket to be able to go. And then after like 7 years or something, they finally get a ticket, and Julian is this like ship sailor guy who comes in, and he helps them go to this like other magical island where the game takes place. So while they're there, Tella, who's Scarlett's sister, she gets whisked away, and she gets like kidnapped from Legend, and she figures out that Tella is part of the game, and that the game is to find her. So like there's clues and stuff that they have to follow around like the carnival, I guess is the best way to describe it, around this like magical like fairy tale like place to try to find Tella. And honestly, like, I was so scared that I wasn't gonna like it because I didn't really love the last 2 books. Like, they were fine, but I didn't love them. But I'm so glad that I loved this. Anyway, as I was saying, the romance plot between Julian and Scarlett, because Tella's gone, so they kind of bond over trying to find her together. And of course, like, as they start interacting, they start like liking each other. And I thought like that romance definitely could have been developed more. I feel like there wasn't a lot of substantial foundation to their relationship. They were kind of just thrown together for the sake of convenience. They were kind of just there together, working on it together. They were close to each other. They're the only 2 people they were interacting with, so of course they were gonna like start developing feelings for each other. But yeah, other than that, I really enjoyed this book. I'm so glad I'm ending this video on a good note, and I also like really like the cover of this book. Honestly, it's really beautiful. But yeah, that is it for these video. There were some flops like Kiss of Deception, and some wins like this one, and then a middle of the road book like Red Queens. I think we got like all ends of the spectrum here, which is like, I guess, good, bad, I don't know. But yeah, that is it for this video. Let me know down below if you read any of these books, and if you liked them, and how you think they compare to like today's books. I don't know. But yeah, that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.